What's up? I am so excited to have you guys listen to the podcast today. It is a little different than I've ever had before, but it is such a fun, juicy episode. So I have Molly Eames on the show today, and she's a sex therapist turned soul guide who believes that reclaiming pleasure is a radical act of healing. With over a decade of experience in sexual health, Molly weaves together the science of sexuality with the sacred, inviting women to reconnect with their bodies, desires, and inner magic. Her trauma informed approach blends clinical training with holistic wisdom, drawing from modalities like somatic experiencing, internal family systems, emotionally focused therapy, mindfulness, breath work, sacred sexuality, and psychedelic integration. Molly creates grounded, heart centered spaces where clients can feel safe to explore their sexual self, unlock pleasure, and remember their wholeness. When she's not holding space, you can find her soaking in the elements with her partner and dog, exploring the local music scene, or dancing barefoot under the stars. She definitely gives up that vibe. She is a beautiful soul and was so much fun to talk to. So I can't wait for you guys to listen. It is a must listen for any woman ready to release shame, heal old wounds, and step into empowered, embodied pleasure. So here we go. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited for another guest episode today, and I am thrilled to welcome on Molly, who this is how I found her through another podcast. I love podcast world. But so yeah, I listened to her on a friend's podcast and was obsessed with it. She's got, oh my gosh, you guys, it's gonna be juicy. It's gonna be good today. So Molly, hello, and can you just introduce yourself, tell everyone what you do and your human design type and sun, moon, and rising.
I love this. Yes. Hi, Kayleen. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Okay. Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a 1-3 projector. My moon, well, let me rephrase this. My sun, I'm a Cancer moon and an Aries rising. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner and trained sex therapist. And I really work with women who have suffered any kind of sexual trauma in their life, or just anyone who is feeling disconnected from themselves and from their pleasure. And really, we do a lot of work about coming back home to ourselves and to our body and re-accessing pleasure again. It's amazing work, and I can't believe like this gets to be my job.
I know, right? It's like when you finally find what you love doing, you're like, work is fun. It's not even work. It's just like what I do. I thought that it was so important, the discussion of like connecting with your body and everything. And I just want to comment on the projector thing. I see you as a non-sacral being.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love meeting other non-sacrals, and I know more of them in my life. So like I'm a manifester, which is very different from other people, and we live in a world and a society where it's very go go go, and you get that disconnect. And I love that a majority, of what you do is like bringing, like I said, bringing that back and back into the body.
Back in the body and like reminding ourselves of the sacredness of life.
Oh my gosh. Yes, very important. Yeah, you're here for a reason. It's so sacred. It's so beautiful. We are experiencing the ups and downs, clearly, but it's good.
But that's part of the human experience. I mean, we're just souls in these flesh suits, for lack of a better word. And the human experience is messy and chaotic and
Hmm.
beautiful and incredible. Like it's the light and the dark. And that is true embodiment, right? Of being able to
Yes.
live and know that I can be with the both and that which is discomfort and also that which is really, really beautiful and light.
Beautifully said. Okay, so you have to spill the tea. How the hell did you get into, sex therapy and things like that? Because it's not a normal job at all. And people are so uncomfortable talking about it a lot of the times.
Absolutely. And honestly, that is why I am here. To be honest, it was a wild ride, but I have always said that I really want to be the person that my younger self needed.
Hmm.
My younger self needed somebody who was going to be really confident and be like, yeah, we're going to talk about sex and pleasure and all of the things that have been deemed taboo.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up Southern Baptist. My parents were church planners, very, very religious. We did not talk about sex or anything like that. And I had just a lot of troubling experiences. It wasn't until I was later in my 20s that I had my first flashback of a traumatic childhood event. And it really, to be honest, it shifted everything for me in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give a little like background, I went to college wanting to tell people stories. I love stories. I think they're so powerful. And particularly as women, we are the holders of stories. So I think it's really just a beautiful space. So I went to college wanting to be a journalist, broadcast journalism, anthropology, like let's tell stories. And then right as I was getting ready to graduate, my dad ended up getting this fluke nosebleed and he almost died. And my dad is one of my closest friends. We're very, very tight. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? I can't move from St. Louis to New York and do this thing. Like, this is my like family. And it was the first time in my life I'd ever felt that moment of like, this is what it's like in the movies when people say they have like that felt pull to go back home. I was like, shit, okay, this is it. I'm going to go back to St. Louis, the place I said I was always going to leave. Couldn't find a job, wound up working as a wedding planner of all things. Really enjoyed my job as a wedding planner and got to a space where I was like, is this really how I want to live the rest of my life? Right. And that's
Mm-hmm.
a whole story in itself. But I really started questioning, what am I doing? And from that moment, someone asked me, well, what's your favorite part of your job? And I said, honestly, it's dealing with dysfunctional brides and their family. I love that shit. And so, yeah, I was like, maybe I want to be a therapist. So I went back to school in my late 20s. It was through that experience that I had my first like flashback to my own experience as a child. And it was really shocking. It was on a Christmas morning. I just gotten engaged. Um, I remember it's just the moment that shifted everything. I felt so disgusted and broken and wildly disconnected from myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and really hard. I had thought that I was a pretty actualized person before this moment and felt really connected to who I was sexually and as a woman. And then this thing happened and it just totally pushed me over.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of how I became this. That was the beginning of this real journey, right? Of facing and recognizing, okay, I'm going to have to face some stuff that's going to be really uncomfortable, but I want to do this because I want to be a full person,
Mm-hmm.
Like I just wanted, I don't know. So I'm really grateful for being on this path and for the few people who you meet on it who really help bring it all together for you. And so I was in school for therapy. Everyone's like, just wait for that one class that really lights you up. And I kind of assumed I would start working with kids. And I think growing up is just really hard, especially in this day
Yeah.
and age. And so I started working with kids, and on my first practicum, I was working at a retreat center, and I had a 6-year-old girl come up to me and be like, I don't want to get released to my parents this weekend. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
Mm.
let's talk about it. And then she just proceeded to tell me the most horrible story about essentially how her father pimps her out during football season. And I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, okay, I'm here for you. Like, let's talk about this. How can I protect you? How can I save you? How can I, whatever that word is? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just started recognizing that people just started coming to me talking and sharing their story. And these were just little kids. And that's honestly, Kayleen, how I started, where I was like,
Yeah.
someone needs to be a voice for them. And I feel really fucked up going through my own healing, but like, I guess I'm the right person for this.
I can imagine with children, that would be. I have two of my own, and uh, it breaks my heart to know, what other kids go through and people. Well, and it's just like, their soul's journey in this lifetime, and
Yeah. And I know how I felt as a younger person,
mm-hmm.
where just no one listened to me. I was
Yeah.
telling people, but no one was listening. And because it's really uncomfortable. And I don't want to be that person. And so, really started working with kids and working with
Mm-hmm.
kids through really hard times, but I'm also a step parent and I've
Hmm.
got three beautiful kids. When I first met them, they were like 4, 5, and 8. And now they are 20, 21, and 26.
Oh,
And
goodness.
it's been a really beautiful journey. But when they were teenagers, it was like too much. It's like I can't be with teenagers during the day and coming home to teenagers at night, like I'm losing my mind. And so
Yeah.
I started just working with older women. And by older, what I really mean is like women in their 20s and 30s,
Hmm.
just outside of that adolescent age. They're just like the adolescents. They have no idea what we're doing. Sex education is so backwards in the US and frankly in a lot of places. We don't
Hmm.
know now. And then it just kind of became into this space of, wow, when you actually ask someone, hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you sexually? How's connection? How are you with yourself? People look at you for the first moment like, what are you talking about? And then they immediately soften into the space of like, I can say that here. Like, oh my God, this is a space that I can share this. Like, yes, yes, this is a safe space for you.
Hmm.
It was through that and working with couples that just, I love this work. It's so powerful. Part of my own healing journey was really as a therapist, I was like doing all the things. I'm like doing my own therapy and I'm all heady. And it was beautiful and it was a great experience. But I got to a space where I knew all of this stuff, like cognitively, I know I'm okay. I know I'm not broken,
Hmm.
but I wasn't feeling any of it. Like it was such a weird disconnect of brain knowledge, but nothing in the heart. And so I started working, I was in the middle of a women's circle where someone asked, where do you feel safest in your body?
Hmm.
And I was like, that's a curious question. Safe body? Like, that's fucking weird. And I'm listening to all of these women say the most beautiful stories and connections to themselves. And I sat there like, what's wrong with me? I don't feel anything. Like, I don't even know it's safe. What does that even mean? And it was
Hmm.
just this massive opening again of like, oh, there is so much more work to be done. Like, how do I connect with my body? And that's what really brought me into the work of somatics and to really understand that, like, great, you can cognitively know a lot of shit. But if you're not feeling it, if your nervous system isn't feeling safe, none of it is going to integrate. Like it just gets stuck in la la brain land. And that's beautiful, but I mean, it just lives outside of you. And so then it was just this whole beautiful process of really learning how to slow down and how to be with myself. And through that, I mean, that's the gift I want to share. That's what I want to help other women do is to know that they're not alone, to know that
Hmm.
they're definitely not broken. There is a life for you that exists out of whatever happened to you. It is literally the least exciting thing about you. And there's a whole other world of beautiful pleasure and love and connection. And that's like, that's
I
what I
love
want people to know.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I love hearing your story, and I know I can relate, and I am sure women listening to this podcast can relate to just being up here in your headspace all the time. And I felt like I was like that until I was like 28, 29, almost 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, I literally, when I remember being at 33 and finally learning how to connect to my body through my bleed and actually connecting with my menstruation and the cycles and connecting with this other way of being. We are cyclical beings. How come no one told us that? Why did no one tell us how fucking magical we are when we're bleeding? Like, it's not gross, it's beautiful. And it's a time of introspection and connection and fertility and like all of this juicy stuff. And then I was so sad. I was like, fuck me, I'm 33. Like, my life could have been so different if I knew this as a 16-year-old or a
Oh my
20.
gosh. Yes. I love that you brought that up because, again, that like aligns with what I've experienced in my own life too. Over the past year, it was after I had my daughter, I got right back on the birth control because I was like, oh my God, I don't want another baby right away or anything. And then after I had my son, which he'll be 2 next month, and I was just like, I am never doing hormonal birth control ever again. And I've said that before on this podcast, and I will say it again, never, because it is so cool being in sync with your cycle People will roll their eyes at me, but like you cannot knock it until you try it. And just knowing like, okay, this is, and I feel like when I bleed, it's not painful anymore, or it's not, I don't know, it's not like a big deal.
Yeah, because you're connected. You're trusting the rhythm of
Yes.
it, and your body knows that, right? And I mean, I just think often for women, as we go throughout our month, there's so many moments when we're like, is this normal? Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can't remember anything, or I want to say yes to everything. And one day I have so much energy, and the next day I'm like, what the fuck happened? And all of that is explained if you just connect inward. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, you're going to feel really tired. You just hit your ovulation point and your hormones are dipping. And for those of us who are really sensitive, that tiniest dip of hormone is like, right? So there's so much power in knowledge, and there's
Yes.
power in like knowing this about ourselves. And also, power and knowledge is beautiful when it's living outside of us. But once we integrate that into our felt sense experience, that
Mm-hmm.
really becomes like the anchor of truth.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I totally agree. I would love for you to touch on maybe your favorite somatic practices or what has really helped you or your clients in their own, getting connected with their body again.
Yeah, I love this question. Yeah, a few things immediately come to me. The first one is I am a huge fan of the sacred start. And really, all that means is taking time for yourself first thing in the morning. Like, really learning how to fill up your own cup before you give to others. And that can be really tricky for a lot of women. It's hard to have boundaries, it's hard to say no. And really, by creating a sacred start, where even if it's just 10 minutes of you doing whatever it is that lights you so up and fills you with so much joy, you're actually going to be a better human the rest of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something about connecting inward and just allowing yourself to have slowness and softness that is what your nervous system ultimately is wanting and needing from you. And so I really love starting the day off. And whether that is doing a nervous system tool regulation, like shaking or putting on some music and like dancing, or just going inward and journaling. I
Mm-hmm.
love oracle cards. And so my favorite
Yeah, I was like, yeah, girl, I got decks on decks over here.
and I love waking up and just feeling what deck am I feeling pulled to, pulling
Mm-hmm.
a card, connecting with it, just seeing, it's just an opportunity to play with my own system and to play what's most alive. And I love that. So I love the sacred start of just being able to connect with yourself first. And I think every woman needs to have a sacred self-pleasuring practice, like non-negotiable. And especially for those of us who have experienced any kind of trauma with our bodies, it's
Mm-hmm.
really important to remind ourselves, A, that we know how to cultivate safety for ourselves so that we can feel really safe and juicy in our own space and in our own body. And it's important to know what we like, because what we like is going to be different almost daily. Like, it's going to shift from what we liked as teenagers. What you
Mm-hmm.
liked pre-baby is going to be super different than post-baby. And to be honest, depending on where you are in your cycle, might also depend on what kind of touch feels most pleasant to you. So I think it's really powerful to have that practice of remembrance and of connection, because isn't just meant for a partner. It doesn't just mean penetration. It means so much more than that. It's
Mm-hmm.
being intimately connected with your joy. And pleasure is really just embodied joy. So whatever it is that you can do to tap more of that into yourself, hell yeah, do it. Totally do it. Another big one, and just about get like re-accessing pleasure in the body, is I love a good shower, a really good like mindful shower.
Oh yeah.
Able to connect, to feel the water hit your head or wherever on your body, get curious about if you can trace a water droplet, and just feeling comfort with the body, right? Like, what is it like to be intentional with the soap and really love yourself as you're washing your body? What would it be like as you're getting out of the shower to really slow down your lotion and moisturizing routine and be like, oh, my arm is so great. Like, yes, it feels great. I love these muscles. And doing mirror work. So many of us have really critical parts and voices, and
Mm-hmm.
it messes us up when it comes to intimacy and sensuality and sexuality. And so being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, damn, I'm fucking hot. Do you see this? Look at these hips. They do not lie, right? Like whatever you want to
Yeah.
say. But being able to recognize what that critical voice is and being able to have a relationship with it, right? And being like,
Hmm.
yo, can you give me like a little bit more space? I don't really want to hear you today. And actually, my breasts are amazing. So shut up. And And I would say that another just somatic exercise in terms of partnership that I really love is really being able to connect. And whether that is doing a nervous system tool together or eye gazing, just having heart, hand over heart, and just connecting in
Hmm.
breath. And so much of somatics is really about slowing down.
Hmm.
And slowing down can be hard.
I think, yeah, we're addicted to not slowing down, I think. When you were talking about some of those things, I love the sacred start that it doesn't have to be the same thing every day. It
Mhm.
can shift to what you were feeling and not grabbing your damn phone
Yes.
first thing in the morning. I am away from that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And it's beautiful. And that's another challenge that you can give yourself. Can I wake up and not look at my phone?
Yeah. And for those of us that don't do it, it seems so easy, but to other people, maybe waiting 5 minutes would be a good place to start. And
Absolutely.
I think you would agree that would help your nervous system a little bit too, as well. You're not just
Ye-
triggering, like, my gosh, these emails, or this is on social media, or blah, 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 or who texted me. And
Yeah. Allow yourself some time to just be, right?
yes.
I mean, honestly, what is it, that top three when you first get up? It's sun on your face, right? The importance of getting some vitamin D. I always put my feet on the ground. Some
Mhm.
kind of nature grounding is so important. And I'm sure my neighbors think I'm crazy, but I have a tree in our front yard. I always touch and hug. So whenever I go out in the morning, I'm always like, I take a moment to breathe with my tree.
I love that.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels grounding and connected.
Yeah, that's not crazy. That's
Yeah.
that's wonderful. But those are all really, really things that people could start now, like incorporating those things now. I would love to know, because maybe somebody can relate to this, like what are some of the biggest things your clients struggle with?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely lower libido, where it's like, I'm feeling so much pressure. Like every time my partner reaches for me, I cringe. I'm like, no, I don't want that. And that is really, really common for so many of us. Another one is not knowing what you like or how to communicate that in partnership. We get a lot of mixed messages about what intimacy really looks like,
Hmm.
and a lot of messaging from partners who learn from porn about what they think intimacy should look like. And that's just not how it is. And so I would argue that a lot of my work is sex education.
Yeah.
Just like no matter what your issue is that you're coming into, most of it is just you don't know what you don't know. And let's start from ground zero and let's get really curious about how did you learn about sex? What were your experiences throughout your lifetime? What were the stories that got held in your body because of those experiences? And so, I mean, my framework is you can come with me with all kinds of things from vaginismus and can't orgasm and, mismatched libido, but the process is going to be the same. And the process is about getting really curious about you.
Hmm.
How did you learn about this? What were those messages that you received from culture, from religion, from your best friend? Right? Figuring out what are those opposite stories? Who do you want to be? I think there's a lot of fear for women sometimes. Like, we've never really been given the option of, like, who do you want to be?
Hmm.
How sensual do you want to be? What does that look like for you? And particularly, I mean, I would say that identity is another big thing that I work with clients. Now I'm a mom. How can I still be a sexual being, but I'm a mom? Right? I mean, that is a big one that comes up a lot. And
Yeah.
actually, you get to be both. Your sexual beingness doesn't hide or get put on a shelf just because you're a boss and a mom and all these other things. They're all here hanging out, just about us connecting with them more and bringing them into light.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that really answered your question.
No, no, Yeah, I was like, yeah, no, I think it did. People just struggle with, honestly, I think it comes down to maybe being themselves and just like what they actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. Connecting to your authenticity, your authentic voice, and remembering what you like.
Hmm.
Often we weren't given that opportunity. And what I hear so often with couples is there's so much assuming that goes on. Like, well, he's or they're just going to know because of I said XYZ. And it's like, no, assuming is the number one relationship killer.
Yeah.
Assumption sucks. Ask, get clear. If don't be all like hurt because you're like, oh, well, my partner turned away from me, so it must mean he doesn't love me. No, maybe he turned away because he was sneezing and he didn't want to sneeze on you. Like, ask, get clear.
Hmm.
But it's so hard for us to ask.
Using that throat chakra.
Yes, we have to clear that. And speaking of the throat, that's such a beautiful connection because our throat literally looks exact same as our pelvic floor and our vulva. And so there's a deep connection between the two. And I love that you brought this up because in this work, they are deeply connected. And as you are connecting deeper to your vulva and deeper to your yoni, a lot is going to happen here. A lot. You might feel silenced. You might feel anger. You might be like, what in the world is happening here? And that's exciting from a somatic lens. That means, ooh, it's working. You are connected. You're clearing out some stuff and you're deepening this beautiful yoni throat connection.
Can you define that for those that don't know what yoni is? I'm like, I know what that is, but everyone might not.
I love this. Yeah. So the vulva, right? That is our scientific word. And Sanskrit, it is yoni. And so I always like to tell people with this is when I'm talking about my vulva, I'm talking about it in a very clinical way. I am most likely at my doctor, my OB. I'm being like, yeah, there's something amiss with my vulva. But when I'm talking about my yoni, that is a different space. That is a different energetic connection. She is my pleasure portal. That is where the magic happens. And so yoni is just a Sanskrit word for the vulva and really the pleasure portal.
I actually didn't know that's where it came from. I've just heard it on, there was a couple other, I cannot remember who I was listening to, but she was talking about, I don't remember what she was talking about, but yeah, the word came up and I was like, oh, that's a fun nickname, but it's good to know it's actually Sanskrit.
It is, and it's beautiful.
I like it. Yeah.
And I always offer this to women, like, you should know her, right?
Hmm.
Whether you call her your Yoni or Miss Jessica or whatever name it, like, totally up to you. But there's a sacred relationship there. And she's like your best friend. And as you would know how your best friend takes their coffee and how they like their eggs, you should know what she likes.
Hmm.
And what feels good. And it's an opportunity to have a really different kind of relationship with her that's based out of curiosity and compassion and love.
Yeah. And again, just getting into your body and out of your head.
Yeah, I know. I mean, when was the last time you took an honest look at her?
That's a good question.
And hey, an invitation to spend 3 minutes. 3 minutes, that's not even a long time. And just look at her and connect, see what she looks like. Can you identify all of her parts? What does she feel like? And that's also a really great first step of knowing your body and of
Yeah.
starting a relationship. And it can even be as simple, this is so silly and I've done this before, but it's like an invitation to utilize your hand and just hold her and just put your hand there and just notice what happens as you're connecting. Can you feel her?
Mm.
Can you feel her breathe? Because she is a living, breathing soul. And that's a beautiful way of remembering your own power and of being
Yeah.
able to connect back to that
Yeah.
space.
She can create life. Like, it's fucking magical.
Literally insane.
No, those are really good, like first steps or again, I love sharing things that women can actually do after they listen to the podcast episode because they're like, oh my gosh, Molly is so knowledgeable.
It's really about getting curious about your body.
Hmm.
And maybe having that new lens of, wow, I wonder why she's doing this. What are you trying to tell me? Right? Instead of meeting her with, oh, you're not working correctly, or why can't you? What would it be like to meet and greet yourself with grace and compassion? Wow, my tummy's hurting. What do you need from me? Right?
Yeah.
Like connecting in and just seeing what's up. And you might actually be really surprised at what your body tells you.
Because, yeah, the reason you have a headache or, yeah, something's going on, talk to your body. Just don't.
Sometimes it is Mercury retrograde. Most of the time, it's just your body.
Yeah. I think we're quick to just like, pop an Advil or ibuprofen or cover up the symptoms. And then progressively things could get worse if you're not listening.
Yeah, that's so true.
I really liked, so I also creeped at your website for a little bit.
I love that.
And I thought it was so beautiful. Like, this stood out to me the most. You have something on here that says, "You know best. I have no interest in telling you what is wrong with you because I believe that you are whole and complete just as you are."
Mm, yep. Yeah.
What do people, how do they, like, how do women react to that?
I think that people really react to that very kindly and favorably.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly as women, I think that we are often met with, well, this is what you got to do, and it's no big deal, and solve it this way. And there's always this like solution focused thing. Um, I mean, you know yourself best. You are the captain of your own ship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am just a sacred mirror. That is my job. And that's my work, is to be a sacred mirror of reflection and to resonate with you so that I can sense things and reflect them back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not here to fix you because I think you are fucking whole and you know yourself best. And so I really feel that in my work and with my containers, with my clients, like we are co-creating. I think as a sex therapist, there was a period of time where I went through a phase where everyone's just like, well, look at all that stuff on your wall. Like, you're the expert, tell me what to do. And it's like, ooh, no, 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 no. Those things on the wall just means I paid a lot of money to read a lot of fucking books. Like, okay, I am here to be a sacred reflector and to just show you what maybe you're unwilling to see in yourself.
Oh my gosh, yes. One, that really coincides with like your projectorness. It's like, yeah, giving feedback on what you're observing out in the world. And two, I no shit heard that on some sort of podcast or something in the last couple weeks. Somebody was talking about, she was like, yeah, look to the people with all these certifications or your doctors, nurses, and I'm not downplaying that they are very knowledgeable.
Yes. Yes. Totally agree with that.
But you do know your body the best. If something is off and you feel that, you have to trust that. And most of the time, if there is a situation in your life, you know what you need to do.
Mhm.
You're just stuck in fear or whatever else it is, or you're up here talking yourself out of it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, also in the space that I work in, sexuality exists on this beautiful continuum, right? Like everything that exists on this line is beautiful. And just because maybe you don't play over here doesn't mean that this is wrong, just because that's not where you feel most comfortable. And so you hear a lot of really fucking bad stories about sex therapists where they're like, oh, they just didn't listen to me. They told me to do this. And, that just complicated my marriage more. And it's like, no, no, no. I hate those stories because it's like, we get to exist on this line. And who am I to say that what you want to engage in over here is good or bad? I want
Mm-hmm.
to help you have the best experience in that. And if through that your body says, actually, this is a little too far, I actually want to play over here. Amazing. How awesome that you learned that. And that was a lived experience that you're able to integrate and put it over into this. Like that is beauty. That is,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, like healing. That is the work.
Yeah, you never know unless you try. You do things. Failure is just feedback. There's
I
no like.
I am like all about getting all of that nerdy booky knowledge and then trying it in my own life and being like, wow, that was a lot of floppy pancakes, but this one really worked. This one was really great.
Yes, and that's what life is. It's just like trial and error until you get to the point where you're kind of on your own little lane and like you already know, like, oh, that really isn't for me. Or, oh my gosh, I've never tried this before. Let's do that. And yeah, just to be open and yeah, really loving yourself and what your body is telling you. and getting out of your head. I keep repeating that because I think it needs to be said so many times.
I love that. And it's so true. I mean, I'm 41, and when I reflect back, it's like I can honestly say that I spent over half of my life living outside of my body, feeling really disconnected. And it has really honestly only been in the last, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 years that I really have felt the shift and that the difference where it's like, oh, this feels so much better than anything else. Like, what a gift to be able to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to sound silly, but I'm going to share it. But back when I first started this journey, I remember being at a bar class and I was like, I got to like do stuff to get in my body. And if you've ever done bar, it's like that crazy thigh up, down, and all of a sudden your thighs
Mm-hmm.
are shaking and you're like, what is happening to me? And the teacher would always say something to the effect of like, ooh, connect with the burn, feel the shake. Know that in this moment, you are more connected to your body than most people in the entire world are.
Hmm.
There's power in surrendering to the shitty feeling of your legs going like this and not knowing what's happening. Like that is really living. Like we are living in this moment. And I never will forget that. It's like, yeah, most people just are on autopilot and are just going through their life, like checking off the box and not actually feeling anything. And when you go from disconnected to feeling, I remember in an IFS retreat where I was like, holy shit, my protector stepped aside. Now all of a sudden I'm feeling things and it was
Mm-hmm.
terrifying. I
Yeah.
literally thought I was possessed. Like, what's happening? But what a gift to go through that process because this is the gift, right? Of being able to
Mm-hmm.
be in this human flesh suit, in the discomfort and the joy, and to be experiencing it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's living.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
fucking juicy. And within that is so much pleasure and pain and excitement and weirdness. But that's the beauty of it.
I feel like a good theme is just like romanticizing your life too.
Mm,
Again, that's come up for me a couple times. Like the summer season where we're bopping around and maybe you do feel a little more energetic in the summer and just like it what you said with the shower, just like really enjoying things like that and just taking a walk, being outside, just being.
exactly. Just being. I had, so part of my journey took me sitting with ayahuasca in Costa Rica.
Oh, you've got to share those.
It was a beautiful, beautiful, and very challenging experience. I turned into an ice cube in the middle of the jungle. I turned into an ice cube. I've never been so cold in my life. But it was through that experience that really one of the things that came to me was the power of being in this moment. Because anxiety, depression, all of the that gets us really dysregulated happens when we start thinking outside of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
We get caught up in the past, or we get caught up in what's going to happen 30 seconds from now, or a year from now, whatever future thing. We get all out of our body and out of this present moment. And what would it be like if you could be so connected to this moment and to trust this moment and anything that happens that you were to honor your authentic yes? It doesn't matter where you are in 5 years because you are honoring your authentic yes in every moment. And so you know that you are meant to be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking powerful.
That's really powerful.
And also really hard to do because we live in a world that does not honor the slowness and the beingness of right now. So it's a radical act of rebellion to connect with your joy and to slow the fuck down. And I think that's cool.
That is really cool. I would love to see a shift towards that though.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
in just teaching our young people too. Kids these days have, oh my gosh, so much. They're growing up like we didn't have technology when we were little.
No, no.
And
Same.
it is not the same. I'm like, I don't even want to get my kids a smartphone. It's like you
That,
guys are getting burner phones.
hell
It's
yeah.
okay.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, why does a child need Instagram or TikTok? I don't know. Like, I'm really weird about that, but
Don't. And I go back to look at all of the research that we have on this now. It's not good for us. We know that it's not good for us. And yet here we are. plugging it away. Everyone's got to have one. The kids need to know how to do blah, blah. I mean, I had a girlfriend this summer who said, you know what? Screw it. I am not putting my kids in camp this summer. I want my kids to be so bored. I want them to be like, oh my God, what do I need to do so that they can learn how to connect with their creation and play? And I was like, this sounds secretly horrible, but I love it. I really love the thought of this. And please tell me, how can I support you? Because you're going to lose your mind in 36 hours.
Oh yeah, for sure. But no, that's so cool. That's what I think of with summer. It's like kids are in these structured activities all the freaking time. And instead, where can we leave them time to ride their bikes or just go outside? I would go outside with my brothers for hours and we would play Oregon Trail with a wagon.
Yeah, I love those days, right? And actually, I really love that we're talking about play because I would argue that play is essential when it
Oh,
comes to your sensuality and your sexuality. Play is a sign that your nervous system feels so safe.
hmm,
What a great time for connection and for intimacy when you are in that playful like space.
yes. Yeah. Don't forget about your inner child.
No, no, they are so important. Actually, that's probably one of the things our clients always say is, wow, I really thought we talk more about sex, but we really don't. We talk about a lot of other stuff, like connecting with my inner child. And it's like, because it's all connected, right?
Mhm.
Whatever you're experiencing in intimacy is a symptom to something larger. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be education on how to do all this stuff, but it's really a symptom about connection in your nervous system. And do you know how to be playful and safe? And if you don't, we should probably talk about that because that's cock blocking everything else in your life.
Yes. Beautifully put. But yeah, everything is so connected. And I don't think I ever realized that myself too again until I was much older. And, it's like, yeah, you may have XYZ going on in your life and not even realizing it's affecting, your job is affecting your relationship or it's affecting something else or things that you don't think have anything in common. Yeah, they do because it's all stemming from you.
Totally. And it's been really curious being a projector in this space because, I need some good boundaries.
Yeah.
Pretty firm boundaries with my time and my energy. And that has been something I've had to learn along the way, so that I can really be my most juiciest, authentic self at any given moment in time.
Yes, because we do not have the energy to run around all the time. And we even talk about rest, and people are like, oh, you're lazy.
Ugh, I hate it when people say that. So much happens for me when I'm resting.
Well, that was just like something drilled into my head when I was growing up, too. Like, you're sleeping in, you're lazy. Like, if you're resting, why do you need to rest? And
I
it's like,
need like 8 hours of sleep every night. I need it. It's like a non-negotiable. And if I don't, I'm a little cranky.
yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, wouldn't you rather have someone rest? And when we are in those phases where we are feeling energetic and productive, we get a lot done.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And it's amazing. And, that's another great space of, man, comparison is just
Mm.
the thief and killer of joy. It really is. And I think no matter what path you're on, it's really common pitfall to compare yourself to other people's journeys or to other people's lived experience. And it's just silly.
It truly is guilty over. I mean, everyone's guilty over it.
All the time.
And but once you come, oh, I notice like when I become aware of it, and then I'm like, okay, no, this. I don't know everything about their life. People. You could see people on Instagram or even people in your real life. You're like, oh my gosh, that their life looks so amazing and they look happy and blah blah blah. You don't know anything about their entire life. You will never know anything or everything about someone else's journey.
Mhm.
So it's like a waste of time to compare people, waste of time to judge people. Worry about yourself.
Yeah,
Focus here and like the more you focus here and you bringing the loving and kindness to yourself, it radiates out to other people.
it really does. And I think for anyone who's an entrepreneur or in this space, right? Like it can be, everyone has an opinion.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone has an opinion, everyone has a framework. And I think the hardest part as a projector, for me, at least through this experience, was learning to not listen, was to learn to be like, that's really great. And I love that that works for you. And it may not work for me. In fact, I may do things totally differently and still get the same result. And that is okay. It doesn't mean that it's less than, it doesn't mean that it's anything. It's just your path and my path.
And you're working smarter for yourself.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, that feels good for me.
Like I've had the same experience. Like you have a mentor or a coach and it's like you need to do XYZ and you're like, this doesn't feel right, or it's not, again, feeling into your body and it doesn't feel right, or this isn't working for me. And it's, yeah, newsflash, we're all different.
Yeah.
But we have pieces that are the same, which is fun. And then you can find those people with some of the same pieces and figure out. I like to think of it as a puzzle.
I
Like
love that.
when we're on our little journey and we're just like plucking little pieces from other people that are helpful for us. And, you go talk to Molly and, you got a little piece of the puzzle from her. And then you're just like building up
Yeah.
into this beautiful picture of yourself and your authentic human self in this lifetime. And yeah.
I had a mentor who always used to say, I'm just a stop on your journey. Like that's all this is a stop. And I love that so much. And I really love to think about that for the women I work with is yeah, this is just a stop on your journey. And how cool. How cool
Yeah.
it's held and witnessed and seen for this. And there's still so much more to live and to see.
Yeah. Like I'm so grateful to be with you. And yeah, and we get to connect and learn. And yeah, it's very beautiful.
Thank you.
But do you have I do want to before we go, because time flies when you're having good conversations. For, any woman out there who feels like she's disconnected, or maybe she doesn't know what maybe something she's experiencing and how can she kind of shift?
Yeah, I love that question too. Awareness, always the first step, and being able to put voice to it, right? You got to name it to tame it, and then you've got to feel it to heal it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, thank you. Those are my two little therapy phrases for you. And so, really, just like the first one is just acknowledging that, hey, there's something amiss here. There's something not quite right. And just acknowledging whatever that is. I'm wanting deeper connection. I'm wanting more fulfilling intimacy. I'd like to experience an orgasm, like whatever that could be, putting voice to it and getting curious, right? I think curiosity is the biggest thing that we help our clients attach themselves to is getting curious about like, okay, why am I feeling this way?
Mm-hmm.
How can I go with that? And reaching out to support system, whether that is myself or a different educator or therapist or coach, someone who you feel really safe by and that you feel connected to offer a safe space for exploration.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with you. You're just needing a safe space to explore and to get curious about what's happening.
Yeah. And sometimes it's nice just to kind of word vomit almost the stuff you've been holding in. And maybe you don't want to say these things to a friend or a family member because you don't feel comfortable. And that's where the beauty of other people, the strangers.
Truly. And it's like, there is nothing you could say to me that would shock me before. More than anything, when women come in and they share their story, I'm like, ah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for
Mhm.
off your heart space. And you're so not alone. I hear this story all the time.
And that's comforting in itself.
Yeah. And the other thing is, as women, we should be talking about this with our friends. If you are
Oh my
not
gosh.
talking to your best friend about when the last time she orgasmed was, you may want to ask. But that person, right?
Put it on
Like,
your to-do list, ladies.
I'm just saying, it could be a very curious conversation for you. But talk about it with your girls, talk about it with your friends, and see what would happen. Even if it does make people feel uncomfortable, you might be surprised at how many in the friend group are like, yes, thank you for putting voice to that. I didn't know that that was a topic that we could safely talk about here.
That is a beautiful point. That is a beautiful way to wrap up the conversation too. I'm like, talk to your friends, guys.
Yeah. And it can just be as simple as being like, wow, I'm thinking about this, or
Mhm.
curious what other people's experience is. But what would it be like to start the conversation?
I love that. How can somebody work with you or find you? I'm going to have your information in the show notes, of course. But yeah, I'd just love for you to say any offerings you have and yeah, where we can find you.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you. I am best found on Instagram. My handle is molly.ames. And I'm also on Facebook, but I have to be honest, I'm a horrible Facebooker. Instagram are my jam. You can connect with me on Instagram, send me a message. I have a link on my bio. Check out my website, mollyeames.com. And also, I'm a coach in a beautiful program called the Intimacy Accelerator, which is a 90-day program for women with low libido. It is fantastic. It's an incredible community of women that if you do have low libido, check it out. It's fucking awesome. And yeah, just reach out to me. I love being in conversation with people and yeah, don't be shy.
Yeah, I know. A good voice note is always like makes my day too. Welcome. We share the same like interests and thoughts and things. So, oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And is there any last words of advice or, yeah, anything you want the ladies to know before we go?
I would just say a beautiful reminder that pleasure is your birthright. You are meant to experience so much pleasure. Your body was literally created for it. And a last note beyond that is just if you're really wanting to invite in more sexual pleasure in your life, start by inviting in more non sexual pleasure. And that really starts with slowing down, being a little bit more curious, being connected to mindfulness, and really allowing yourself to be in the moment.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I can't. There's no words because that was just so beautiful. I love that. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will chat with you guys next week. Thank you, Molly.
Kayleen, thank you so much. This was amazing.